Future-Proof is sponsored by Concordia Dental Healthcare, expert care you can trust.
Hello and welcome to Future-Proof. You're watching Sarah Hopwood as I continue this business television programme talking about the merits of emotional intelligence and many other things besides by way of future-proofing, helping people feel more sure-footed about their future, sharing some tools, some tips, some do's and some don'ts, anything really to add value to anybody watching, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an employee, whether you're unemployed, whether you're homeless, and indeed whether you're a student. Many of my business colleagues have been invited into education to take questions from students, and one of the biggest questions that just keeps coming time and time again is, what job will be out there for me? Or if I want to do what you're doing, what will that job look like in the future? So I just hope that these business programs add a bit of value to that discussion, that they're thought-provoking. I'm not an expert on anything, I just know a few things about a few things, and I'm here to share that. And don't forget, on the front page of my website, sarahhopwood.com, there is an emotional intelligence diagnostic that you can just click and it will automatically download onto your computer. You don't need to subscribe to anything, you don't need to give me anything, you can just have it, and I just hope it's of value to you. So this week I want to look closer at the subject of empathy, and this is very central to emotional intelligence, and it's something that I have to say in times gone by I've struggled with, and I'm going to say a little bit more about that. So empathy is about seeing it from somebody else's point of view. It's cognitive, it's logical, it's emotional, and because for me I've had a lot of loss in my life, and all of you will have stories of pains of some sort, and for me, because of those losses, because of repeated and for me it wasn't in the business world, it was privately, just almost living in hospitals on and off over the years, and watching relatives go, I have found empathy quite difficult moving forwards with other people. And I'll never forget going with my brother to see an aunt of mine who was very ill and did subsequently die, and I really struggled to be in the room, and in fact I left the room and I stood outside shamefully. And I look back and understanding and using what I understand about emotional intelligence, I think on reflection that I was quite consumed with me and my feelings, what I've lost, and I just didn't empathise properly with my aunts and indeed with my cousins and what have you, and possibly on reflection I was too self-consuming, going back down memory lane over my mum, my dad, my brother, that actually I didn't really empathise properly with them as I should. So when I deal with empathy, I'm reasonably good, I think, at looking at things logically, and that means that you kind of disengage in some way. And I think one of the reasons why I'm able to do that is because of the business consultancy side of my life, that you are in there trying to help people improve their businesses. And many a time I'll say, look, you need to cut the emotion for a while, sort out the logistics of the problem, your priorities, and then bring the emotion back in at the end, and maybe use it as a litmus test to say, how does this decision now feel? But it's an absolute jungle, and lions are fighting tigers and all the rest of it if we keep emotion in the centre of all business decision making processes. That is my view, and that's why I'm talking about it. But I think because I have been down that road, I'm not one of these, for example, that can be overcome with somebody else's experiences emotional pain, apart from with my children. And then I think I possibly do what we call over-empathise. But otherwise, I'm reasonably good at stepping out or stepping aside. I can step back in again, but I don't actually stay in there and get overwhelmed. So for you, you could be anywhere on those spectrums, but I just want to talk about what empathy really is. I have touched on it in a previous program. I've talked about false empathy, and there can be good and sort of negative sides to empathy. So I just want to maybe spend some time to get a better understanding of what empathy actually is, what it looks like, if you like, feels like, tastes like, what you see and what you feel, or you don't see, feel, and all the rest of it. And I just want to explore some of that in this program today. So empathy can be cognitive, it can be emotional, and it can of course be compassionate. And there are a couple of other aspects of empathy which have been talked about before. So cognitive is very much, I think, about, it's not what I think, by the way, I've done research, I've done readings. Yes, I have written about emotional intelligence. If you want any copies of those articles or what have you, do just let me know and I can email them off to you as a PDF. And these are articles about emotional intelligence, not just empathy. There is one article on empathy, but also I have interviewed some very, very good people about emotional intelligence and what they think about it. There are 3 Red Arrow pilots in there. There's Rona Kant, who sailed around the world backwards, who was trained by Che Blythe, and there are other people too. So if you want copies of any of those, do just email me and I will ping you across a Dropbox link. So cognitive empathy is about seeing it from someone else's perspective, and this can or may not have sympathy attached to it. It can vary, and so I think we just need to ask ourselves, where are we on that Richter scale? And sometimes we can score ourselves up or down on that, and so it's quite good to get a perspective from other people and maybe ask people who are closest to you, and vary it too. So close to you at work, close to you in your community, close to you in your family interactions, close to you online maybe, and to ask, you know, and to ask how good am I at displaying cognitive empathy, and just remember that if it is there, then it will be seen, that people will actually have a witness to experiencing it from you. There's emotional empathy, where we feel the pain, and this is something that can almost be contagious, if you like. That, you know, if you've ever watched, I don't know, childbirth is what comes to mind actually, you know, and a midwife obviously I think would have got so used to that they don't feel it the same. But if you're watching in, or if it's new to you, then you really feel somebody's pain, you feel their distress. And so it can be like a contagious thing. But something else that's come to mind too, which isn't around kind of pain and suffering, but if you've ever watched anybody clean their teeth and you're stood talking to them, let's say 5 of you are stood watching, it's amazing probably all 5, but if not at least 4, as they're thinking or speaking, they're actually be copying the mouthing shape of the person who is actually cleaning their teeth. And as human beings, there's something about that relationship of I get what you're doing, I get where you're going, I get what you've got, if you like. So that is that. And then the other one is compassionate empathy, and this is where we have to be careful. And this is where I think sometimes you can go into people perhaps experiencing being over empathizing, where they are so distressed because they are so compassionate, they really understand what it's like for that person, that it actually floors them. And so this is when another aspect of emotional intelligence comes into play, which is all about self-control, self-regulation, self-discipline. And that takes me right back to how I opened up this first half, talking about how I, maybe through the business links, I'm able to step outside that box. So I'm not one of those that suffers from over empathizing. So stay with me, and I'm going to continue talking about this and more.
EQ, emotional quotient, is better known as emotional intelligence. It is a tangible tool that can sit alongside your services or your product, and it can be taught. Leaders with high EQ have less stress, they're more effective, and they earn more money. There's a great saying, just because we have pains, it does not give us permission to be a pain. I believe that teaching emotional intelligence has a direct impact on your sense of success and your net profits. EQ will empower you and your workforce to drive the change that you want. Change brings transition. EQ can help unpack what's holding you back and speed up that period of transition.